Greetings, YouTube. It has been a very long time since I have taken the time to do a progression tips video. Months and months and months, and maybe even before Dungeons. And so my channel has grown a lot since then, and the game has changed since then, but the progression rules in general have not. I really wish that I had had someone to mentor me when I first started. I wasted what must have been at least the first year of this game just trying to wing it. I knew nothing about this game, and I didn't know what an alliance was. I guess maybe there's like a tutorial at the beginning, and I just skipped it or ignored it. But I didn't know anything. I was terrible. And for almost 2 years in the game, my best two champions were 4-star Black Bolt and 4-star Hulkbuster. I will always have a special place in my heart for both of those champions, especially because Hulkbuster's Special 3, that thing won me so many fights, even in like map 5 of Alliance Quest. And Black Bolt, we used to call him Black Balls because he would hurt himself with his Special 2. Now, you don't have to worry about that recoil type damage, so I'm a little envious of people who get Black Bolt as a 4-star now and don't have to worry about risking damage when they use their Special 2. But I'm going to do this kind of video multiple times over the course of the next weeks and months, and I would love to have your input on this community because there are certain things that maybe I thought were obvious or didn't have a problem with that are not obvious for new players especially, that I would love to have your feedback for to include in future videos to help as many people as possible, because that's why my Marvel Contest of Champions YouTube channel exists, to help people. So we're going to cover 5 points today. We're going to try to keep them at about 3 minutes apiece because, as you know, I don't like these videos to get crazy long. Your time is just too valuable, and as much as I value the fact that you would be willing to give me your time by watching my videos, I don't want to waste it ever. So you can look at this roster and you can say to yourself, wow, he's got some great champs. And I do. In fact, I've got such great champs that I've got people who, knowing that I'm in a Gold 1 alliance, which is still a very good alliance, think that somehow like I've lied about that, or there's just no way I have 4 or 5 65 5-stars when I don't get the same 5-stars and 6-star opportunities. It's all about the arena, okay? I would have maybe 1 565, and that would just be because of 100% completing Act 5 if I didn't do the arena, and the arena will be a separate point for today. But the first thing I want to talk about, and thankfully I am in a great alliance. If you're ever looking for a pretty, I don't want to say it's relaxed because we're competitive. We do map 5 times a week, and we are in tier 4 of Gold 1 in Alliance War, but there's a lot of good people in my alliance, and I found the perfect alliance of people who are really good players who probably should be in Platinum. They just don't want the stress, but also people that aren't going to straight up try to murder you if you die in Alliance War. If that sounds like a good alliance for you, hit me up. But in the meantime, I just want to talk a little bit about alliances because I didn't have a participation in an alliance for the first year that I was in the game. It was a huge mistake. I didn't know what they were, and then I didn't know what the line app was, right? And there's still some people who I talk to who are like, the line app, what's that? And so there are some alliances, I guess, out there that that don't actually use the line app, but most, I would say, safely do, and you have to download that, and that's important. So this is my alliance, now an 18 million rating. The first alliance I joined, I don't even think it was like a 30,000 type rating. I mean, maybe that's a little bit of a understatement. We'll say it was like 100,000 rating. I don't know. It was such a bad public alliance that they had one rule, and that was if you had over a 10,000 base rating. Now, given I was barely at that, you got to automatically become an officer. And I thought, well, that's cool. I've always wanted to be an officer. You're talking about the police. We're not talking about the alliance. And so I ended up being a part of some really dysfunctional alliances early on, but I was so paranoid because I didn't know that I could leave the alliance, or I didn't know that there were better alliances out there, that I just stayed. It was like being in a really bad, abusive relationship. And so rule number 1 for progression is don't be afraid to leave a bad alliance. And I think that rule applies to anyone. I don't care if you have over 1 million rating and you're in a platinum alliance, or you just downloaded the game and you have no idea what you're doing. Now, with that being said, the key to leaving a bad alliance is to doing it the right way. You want to give your officers and your alliance members in general, especially if you've formed friendships with these people, even if you've never seen them face to face, which happens a lot, you want to give them plenty of time of a heads up. And you want to be able to say, I've really enjoyed my time here. I am very thankful of how much I've grown. I'm just looking for other opportunities. And you know what's interesting is if you have a couple of friends who maybe are thinking the same thing. They just don't know how to say it. You can sometimes move to a better alliance for you that's about progression and still play with some of those guys. I'm not saying you should destroy or take apart an alliance by leaving it and having the best players, and sometimes unfortunately that happens as well. But what I am saying is you can still play with those people in a perfect world. I also want to say that you got to figure out what you want in an alliance. If you're about progression and no one else is, then you need to leave. If you're trying to get the most out of Alliance Quest and Alliance War, and if you grind in the arena a lot and you're the only one that ever gets milestones, and then the big one that I always like to talk about is if there's just a bunch of lazy losers who don't donate to the treasury on time, you need to get the heck out of there, because you don't want to feel like you're a tax collector just asking people to donate their weekly donations. And I've been in alliances where it was like everyone had an excuse. Sorry, man, don't got the battle chips this week. I'm like, well, what, you got them for free in like Alliance Quest rewards. Why don't you have your battle chips? I just felt like opening some crystals. Well, that's your problem, bro. If you're going to put your individual selfishness over the good of the alliance that you're required to be in, you shouldn't be in it. But if you're playing with people and they're with friends and they're like, no, man, I can't kick this guy out. I don't care that he never pays his dues. He's a buddy of mine. I'm like, well, deuces. I'm going to find something better. So don't be afraid to leave a bad alliance. Just do it in the right way. Give them plenty of heads up and look out for alliances that hopefully, if they're quote unquote better than you, will help you grow, because that's what saved me. Some really good alliances that took me in and taught me how to play this game. Now, the second point I'm going to make after the don't be afraid to leave a bad alliance is all about 2 stars, which might seem really crazy to some of you because I don't even rank up 4 stars now. So why would I be talking about 2 stars in progression when I just care about 5 stars and 6 stars now? Well, I would argue, and this is going to sound a little dramatic to some of you, but it's 100% true. I would argue that without my 2-star roster, my 3 stars, my 4 stars, my 5 stars, and eventually even my 6 stars would not be where they are today. Because the premium disappointment crystal, for all of the hell that I give it, and it gives me hell right back, especially with Satan herself, is really awesome for the sake that, for whatever reason, when Kabam designed this game, they limited the premium disappointment 2-star roster to the same champions, and they never expanded it. So even though when a new champion gets released, eventually they show up back in the 3-star, the 4-star, the 5-star, now the 6-star crystal, the 2 stars don't. And that gives you a tremendous advantage to maximizing the SIG level of your 2 stars eventually and getting a guaranteed max SIG crystal, whether or not you're opening a 2-star only crystal like that show up on the Sunday arenas, or if you're opening most 2-star champs in premium disappointment crystals. Max SIG crystals are the secret to life. When I go to my hoarding crystal stash, which will be a separate point here in a minute, I scroll down and I just know every time I open a crystal, and now it's mostly 3 stars as well, and actually mostly 4 stars. I've got 10 2-star crystals right now, guaranteed double the 3-star shards. And then I've got all these max SIG crystals down here, 96 2 stars, 16 3 stars. I think I just opened my 4 stars. But these things, they weren't around in the game when I started. You didn't even have crystal fragments. You either got a whole crystal or nothing. And those of you who've been playing for over 3 years, you're probably nodding your head right now because that's just the way the game's been. These crystal shards are one of the best things Kabam has ever done. They deserve a lot of credit for that. And you just want to max SIG as many champions as possible. So as always, don't sell your 2 stars. I don't have any pity for the people that couldn't compete in the road to the 2-star arena the other day where you got 10,000 5-star shards at the beginning of the month just for using your 2 stars and 1-star champs, because you just shouldn't sell them. You shouldn't sell them at all. All right. Now what I'm going to do is talk briefly about a very controversial subject, and that's the arena. Because for so many people who have lives, and most people think I don't, and most people are right, the arena is an evil that you just don't want to do. And so I used to grind every single arena. Every single one, every week. I was addicted to the arena. And I actually had to sit myself down recently and say, what are you doing with your life? You're spending like 5 to 6 hours a day in the arena. I don't care what you're getting for your YouTube channel. I don't care what you're getting for your game. You are losing more valuable hours in the real world than you're gaining on your phone. So I made a promise to myself when the new year started. One of my New Year's resolutions is to only grind in the arena for the first 2 out of 3 days of the event, and then to take a Sabbath day or a rest day off from the arena on day 3. So I don't do the 4-star basic anymore. I don't do the 4-star featured. I just ignore all of them. Really, I only do the 2-star to get the minimum 30,000, and then unless I've got some extra time on like a live stream, I don't touch it. I only do the 3-star featured and the 5-star featured. Now, the 5-star featured, I would tell you, you should wait to grind until you have 6 stars, because otherwise it's going to be hard for you to not get above 4 to 5 million points at the end of 3 days. And if you're going to only do that, you probably should stick to the 4-star featured. But in general, by far, if you want to grind in the arena, which the arena is the secret to life in this game. Gold problems, fixed in arena. ISO problems because of duplicating champions from premiums, fixed in arena. Better champs, fixed in arena with premiums, because even if you don't need 4 stars, you're still going to eventually get some 4 stars and duplicate them for 5-star shards. Obviously, units. This is how free-to-play players get units in so many ways. And then you've got underrated things like even sometimes energy refills that pop up from battle chip crystals. So I say this to say that by far, and I get this question a lot, the best use of time in the arena is the 3-star featured. You want to rank up as many 3-star champs as possible eventually, because you're going to want to have a guaranteed infinite streak in the 3-star arena after a win 5. If you have teams of maxed out 3 stars, and I'm about to sneeze, apparently I'm allergic to Dr. Octopus's face. Sorry about that. If you have maxed out 3-star teams, you are going to have a guaranteed infinite streak for as long as you use those maxed out 3 stars. And with those 3-star arena boosts being so easily accessible in so many facets of the game, you're going to get those rank milestones very, very quickly. And you're going to clear content unbelievably fast when you have the ability to get all these free items every week. I mean, it's the secret. And the most underrated part about the arena is that you practice fighting new champions and old champions. That's how I got even decently good at this game, was just practicing in the arena. And then all the other items were huge bonuses, but the number one reason why I was jumping into the arena was to just practice my skills and practice fighting animations. And there are so many new complicated champions that beginners have to fight. I mean, imagine joining this game. I used to worry about dodging OG Iron Man's beam. Now I got to worry about MODOK and even like timing Thor Rag's power gain right. There's just so many reasons to be worried. I think if I download this game now and fought like an Awakened Medusa or an Iron Man Infinity War on day 1, I'd be like, yeah, screw this. I think I'm going to go back to playing Candyland. All right, number 4, moving right along. When you get units, don't waste them on RNG-dependent crystals. Put 100% of the units that you can afford into your mastery setup, because the best masteries are going to cost you a lot of units, especially with mastery cores, which is why the recent new Apple exclusive mastery deal is so freaking fantastic. This is by no means an exaggeration. This is the best guaranteed value in the game, because your mastery cores are going to be things that you use for the rest of the time you play, especially when you get into things like Glass Cannon and Deep Wounds, Assassin. And if you're going to do like a Legends run, you're going to want to eventually awaken the Suicide Mastery tree in general to the right of Glass Cannon, so, recoil, etc. But, just in general, this is guaranteed value. Every fight you do, I don't care if it's with a 1-star champ or a 6-star champ, is affected by your mastery setup. And when you awaken your mastery tree, you're not only helping your PI, but you're also helping all of your champions. And I was so dumb, unbelievably dumb, when I started the masteries. I didn't know what any of this was, and so much was confusing word-wise that I'd read something like cruelty, increase the critical damage rating. Critical damage rating? What the heck is that? I don't know what that is, but you know what I do know what is? Attack. I like to attack. Greater strength. I like greater strength. So I just put everything, literally everything, into attack, and not even courage. I think it was attack and pierce. Yeah. Critical hits. I just maxed those out. My PI was unbelievably terrible for that Hulkbuster and Black Bolt, and it just stayed that way until eventually I found some mastery guides online and on YouTube and realized, oh my gosh, I've been doing this all wrong for literally years. So don't make my mistake. do something better, and invest your units in the mastery cores. Now, the last thing I want to talk about as we wind down this 5 tips to progress faster in MCOC deals with one of the things that I complain most about in this game, and that's it's not new, it's been around for a while, but back in the day, you didn't have limits on items. There wasn't this BS, 5 out of 5. One of the things that angers me so much is that you only get 5 team revives to store? How is that a thing? I don't get it. I don't get why team revives, something that's so important, is limited to such a small number. At least with regular revives, you get 15. Shouldn't that be the same case for team revives? Well, no, because they're expensive, and so Kabam wants you to not be able to hoard many of them, because if you do, then they don't make more money. So, having item limits sucks. By the way, if you're wondering also when watching this, how I have 61 million gold, most of it comes from selling expired ISO. Like I could sell this whole sheet of ISO right now for about 100,000 gold. And I sell about 3 to 4 times a week. I will go into my ISO that's going to expire anyway, and I'm just going to sell it all for gold, and I'm going to make hundreds of thousands of dollars in gold for my account based solely off of expired ISO that I'm getting mostly from premium disappointment crystals. So that is the secret to gold success, and that's why I love the arena. But back to hoarding. There is only one way right now that Kabam guarantees that you can still hoard crystals, and I have been doing this for months and months and months in preparation for eventually doing Labyrinth of Legends with my 6-star rank 2 Domino. Hopefully she'll be ranked up to rank 2 by the end of the year. And that's, first, you'll notice I'm hoarding Tier 1 and Tier 2, not so much, but Tier 3 Class Catalyst Fragment Crystals, hoard those things. But the thing that I hoard the most, that I'm most proud of, is the 4-hour, and in my case, uncollected free crystals. I'm up to over 1,400 of these things, which guarantee energy, revives, potions, etc. And these things, you can hoard pretty much an infinite amount, and Kabam can't control it. And so that's the only thing that you really have power over, because if you were to cash these in, most of these would overflow to your inventory and they would expire in a short duration. So if you want to save units, hoard your 4-hour crystals as much as possible and only use them when you need them. If I had done that at the beginning of the game, I would have been so much better off, but I just didn't know. I didn't know. Well, there you have it, YouTube. Real quick, to go over the 5 tips for this video we've talked about. Don't be afraid to leave a bad alliance. Just do it in the right way. If you want to progress and people aren't progressing, and especially if people aren't even donating on time, you deserve a better alliance. And this can easily turn into a full-time job and a bane on your existence. And with that being said, another point I'm going to make in a video is don't be afraid to say no, too. Like if people love you and you're like, hey, be an officer, but you can't do it, don't be afraid to say no. All right, second step. Two stars are key to progression. Maxing out 2 stars opens up so many max sig crystals for so many higher starred champs. Never sell champs and max out 2 stars as fast as possible. You'll be so glad you did. Third step, in the arena, if you can only grind a small amount, grind the 3-star arena, maximize as many 3-star champs as you can for arena teams, and watch those rewards flow so easily into your account. It's very easy to get the 640,000 points needed to max all the milestones weekly in the 3-star featured arena. And then 4th step, put all the units you can into your mastery setup. Unlock those really expensive mastery cores and just save up and use that to your advantage. And the last one, hoard these 4-hour crystals, sometimes even daily crystals if you want. Make sure that you don't use them and waste them until you absolutely need them, especially if you're going on a big content clear like an Act 4, Act 5, or even Labyrinth run or Legends run. Make sure to hoard as many of these as possible, and that will help you progress so much faster in the game than when I was doing it. I promised myself that this would be under 20 minutes, and my counter in front of me is showing it's about 19, so I'm going to say thanks for watching. Please comment below on tips that I surely didn't have time to cover, as I'll be making this into a series to help all players, but especially newer players who are just overwhelmed by so much content in the game. Thanks for watching, YouTube. Have a good one.